Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of our 30-day accelerator. Now, in yesterday's session, what we did were all of the key site settings. I know site settings are not particularly exciting, but we did the site settings that I would not skip over when you're just getting started with a Kajabi account. In today's session, what I want to do is put together your first email sequence. And email sequence you're going to send people when they first subscribe to your email list. Because what we're going to do tomorrow is set up a coming soon page for your website. And we're going to give people the option of giving you their email address so that they can stay updated when you are ready to launch your program. And so if they give you their email address, you're probably going to want to email them, just like at least a little email that says, thanks for joining the list. So it's important that you understand how you set up an email sequence in your account and then how you link it to the form that people are going to be filling in tomorrow. So let me share my screen and jump into it. Right, so here we are back inside of that demo account that I set up yesterday, brand new account. Let me turn my highlighter back on for you guys. Okay, so I'm here in the email campaigns area, which is under the marketing menu. And you can see create your first email campaign. So we have no emails in here whatsoever at this point. And you can see up here that your marketing contact address is set by default to your business address. Now you can change your marketing address to something different if you want to. That's done in your site settings where we were yesterday. Hopefully you guys all did that part. And that marketing address is what is going to show on your emails in the footer. Okay, so if you don't want to put your home address in the footer of all of the emails that you're sending out, you could, if you wanted to, put a PO box or a business address there instead. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to click to get started and then we're going to wait. All right, there we go. Now you've got the option here to send an email broadcast or to set up an email sequence, and those event emails are coming soon. Now, an email broadcast is a one-off email that you are going to write right now, and you're going to either send it right now to your list or you're going to schedule it for a set date and time in the future. That's not the kind of email that we want to send today. It would be good for something like a newsletter, okay, that you're writing this week and it's got everything you just did this week in your business and in your life, and you want people to stay up to date with what's happening, and then you click send and everyone on your list gets it at the same time. Okay, but what we're going to be doing is an email sequence. And even if it's only got one email in it, you still want it to be a sequence, because sequences, they're not sent on specific dates and specific times. The send is dependent on when somebody joins your email list. So if there's 5 emails in the sequence welcoming people into your world and somebody joins your email list today, they'll get the first email today. And then those, the rest of the 4 emails will be spaced out however you want to space them out. And then if somebody else joins your email list next week, they'll get the first email next week. Okay, so it just depends when somebody joins your list. It's nice and dynamic. If you were to go with an email broadcast and somebody joins your list next week, well, they missed it if you already sent it this week. You'd have to keep writing it and sending it, which wouldn't work. So we're going to go with email sequence for this welcome sequence that we're creating. And we're just going to call the sequence when my keyboard catches up. Welcome to my list. Okay, the person who's subscribing to your email list is not going to see this title. It's just an internal title so that you can remember what this sequence is all about. Okay, now the first thing that you're going to see after you create that sequence, the shell of the sequence, is you're going to see all of Kajabi's email templates. Now, I would encourage you, especially if people have never heard from you before, your email deliverability or your sender reputation is, as far as the person who's receiving the email, that deliverability is going to be less than if they had been receiving emails from you for, the past year, every week, and they're always reading your emails and, they maybe respond to the odd email. All that sort of interaction that happens with email recipients is going to improve your email deliverability and your sender reputation. If the very first email that they get from you is one of these newsletter style emails and it's full of graphics and it's got links and it's got countdown clocks and like all the things, then that person's email service provider, the ESP, is going to look at that email as like a little bit spammy. Okay, so if the very first email that comes from you looks a little bit spammy, you're probably going to get moved into the junk folder or the promo folder. And then all your other emails that come in the future, chances are they're going to get put into the promo folder as well. So you want your best chance of your emails turning up in their actual inbox. So I would encourage you, I know it's boring, but just to go for a simple text email, at least for the first few emails that you send somebody. Now, what you might like to do if you like all these nice pretty ones is perhaps you're going to create a newsletter and you're going to send a fancy newsletter once a month. Okay, but for the first sequence that they're going through, that welcome email sequence, I would just keep it really simple. Go with simple text for if it's going to be a 5 email sequence, go with simple text for all 5 emails. And once they get through that sequence, down the track, you can send them your weekly newsletter or your monthly newsletter that looks a little bit more interesting. So I know it's boring, but we're going to go with simple text. So if I click that one there and wait, all right, get started and welcome. Now I do have an email sequence template that is going to be useful for you guys, I think. Now, again, this is just an internal title for your email. We're going to click create. Waiting. Okay, here we go. So that first email that we've created is now set, and you can see here that the default is that it sends on day 1. Now, if somebody's just joining your email list and you want the first email to go immediately, then you actually don't want it to go on day 1 because day 1 is going to be tomorrow. If you wanted to send immediately, you need to change it to day 0. And you can see here there's a little bit of text underneath that says this email will be sent immediately after someone subscribes to this email sequence. All right. Oops, made it a little bit too ginormous there. You can see here, Kajabi often gives you little pointers. Okay, if you're wondering like, what the heck? Have a look for there's little bits of text that they put under certain fields. Okay, but if you want the email to go straight away, as soon as somebody opts in for your email list, then change it from day 1 to day 0. And then you've got that welcome 1 as your internal title. Here you'd give it a subject line. The preview text only shows on some email service providers. So don't put anything in the preview text that is like critical to somebody, grasping what this email's all about. It's like supplementary secondary text or a secondary headline, subject line, okay? But this subject line up here is the key one. And Kajabi will give you prompts again if you put anything in here that is likely to send your email to spam. I'll show you. If you do, you can wait for it to update. Come on. You can see there, capitalize less than 50% of the letters. So try not to do words that are all fully caps or sentences that are all full caps. Better if it really is just sentence case. No idea why that email address is coming up. Let me just jump out of here. All right, all the emails I've ever used on my Kajabi account. Okay, so you're going to put a subject line in there, something like let's keep in touch or welcome to my world or what you can expect. All those interesting subject lines you see floating around, something that, isn't too spammy, doesn't have things like free money in the subject line, okay? Things that are not going to put you into the spam box or the promo folder. And then you would come in here, you would write your email and we'll just open it up. I'd like to say we'll just open it up quickly, but nothing does happen quickly when I'm on my Kajabi account. Let's just wait a second. I did say at the beginning of this series, I was going to try and keep all these tutorials to under 10 minutes each. I could do that if my Kajabi site was quicker. I'm not blaming it on Kajabi, I'm blaming it on my home internet. Okay, so you can see down here that we have got this text block and then we've got a button, and you build out these emails very similar to how you would build out a landing page on Kajabi, which we're going to get to later. But you can add certain blocks. Try not to add a lot of gimmicky things to these first few emails. I probably wouldn't have like a countdown in the very first email that goes out. But you can play around, you can put a few things in, but don't do loads of links. Some service providers, like email service providers like Outlook, don't display buttons very well. So you might prefer, if you are asking them to do something in the email, you might prefer to remove the button and just put a, click here. You might prefer to replace the button with just a hyperlink. You can just insert your link here and send them to the same spot that you were using that button for. And once you start to write lots of text in here, it becomes very difficult to edit, especially if you want to do some nice formatting, change the colors or the size, because the text is like off the page. So one very useful icon here is this one for full screen, which opens it up like this, and then you can see all of the text, and the icons at the top there, the formatting icons, remain stuck. So it doesn't matter how far down this email you get, those icons are always going to be sitting there at the top, and you can do all your formatting, and then once it's done, you can just close out of full screen mode back to here. So that's my little power tip for you today. One other power tip actually is that emails, you do have the option here to put in bullet lists. Again, on Outlook, maybe some other email service providers, the bullets don't always show up, and they sometimes look like a little bit funny. So if I've got a bullet point list to write into an email, then often I won't use the bullet point list. I will just say point 1 and point 2, this. And instead of using bullets, I'll just bring up my emoji menu, and I'll pick an emoji that is suitable depending on what it is I'm talking about. And I'll use emojis in place of bullets. Okay, so if you're finding that your bullet points are showing up a bit weird inside of your emails, then that's my second tip for you today, is to come back and swap it out for some emojis. All right, so you would finish writing your email. Don't forget to click save. It will prompt you. And then out of here, once that first email is done, and save my date. It's gone back to day 1. So I'm changing it back to day 0. If you were going to set it at day 1, then didn't even save my subject line. Okay, but day 1, when it goes back in, there it is. Okay, look, if it's anything other than day 0, then you're going to have the option over here to specify the send time. Now, the time zone, again, yesterday we looked at this, but it's inside of your marketing settings. So go back into your settings, into marketing settings, and you'll be able to set what time of day you want emails to send and what time zone. And then if you want to, in this field, you can override the time, but the time zone is always going to pull through from your marketing settings. Now, again, back to 0, and my subject line, I obviously did not save that, so let me just put it in for a second. That one, save. Okay, so that's as far as we're going to go with email 1. If I now come back to the sequence, and I can just use these breadcrumbs at the top to get back to the overall sequence. I thought I could. Hang on one second. Up here. All right, so these breadcrumbs along the top, just a little bit of a shortcut. I mean, you could click back if you wanted to, but if you click welcome to my list, it's just going to take you back to the structure of this email sequence. And so far, you can see we've just got that first email in there. So you would now go through and you would do this process, as many emails as you've got written. You'd come up to the top right behind my video where it says add new email, big black button. And then you would add a second one. And again, Kajabi is going to say, do you want to use a template? I wouldn't use a template. I would just go and go with simple text here. And then you would specify how many days after somebody joins this sequence do you want them to receive the email. Now, if I go in here, actually, let me just show you. So I don't like my chances of keeping any of these tutorials to under 10 minutes, actually. Well, maybe I'll get quicker as we go. Again, this is your internal title that's going here. And oops, I've accidentally gone with the newsletter. I did not mean to do that. If you choose a template, you can't then go and switch it to one of the other templates. So if you accidentally pick the wrong thing and it's in here, what you'd have to do is down here, I can delete it and start again. All right, so you can go through and you can, oops, welcome to my list. Okay, so add new email, big black button again. You would go back, you would choose that simple text one. One thing though, I will tell you before I let you go. Now, we're not going to do the coming soon page today. We're not going to worry about the subscribe triggers or the unsubscribe triggers. We'll be looking at those tomorrow and the next day. But just one little shortcut for you. If you write that first email and it looks great, you've added all your branding and you think, geez, do I have to start from scratch again on every email that I put into this sequence? You don't have to. Once you've created your first email and made it look lovely, you can come up here and you can click to save it as template. I think it's doing something. Do you think it's doing something? I don't know. There we go. All right. So you could have this be your welcome. You could call it your welcome email sequence template if all your welcome emails are going to look the same. Or you could just call it your, if all emails in all of your sequences are going to call it the same, then the template name would be something quite generic, like standard template. You don't have to put a description with it. Once you have given it a title, click down here to create that template in your account. And you get a little notification down here to say email has saved as template. And then if we go back to that main sequence, right, so we've still got our first email there. It's going to send immediately. Now we want to set up the second email in the sequence. You'd still go up to that button in the top right corner for add new email. And then you've now got this top section which says saved custom templates. And there's that template that we just created. So if you click onto that, once it loads and get started, from here, you can, again, give it your welcome title, your email title, internal title. So that's like welcome to, for example. Create. Okay, and so now you've got your second email in the sequence, and this one has just, the day is going to, it's just going to automatically set itself to the day after the last email that's in the sequence. So the first email that we put into the sequence is day 0. So this one's gone in as day 1. You could, if you don't want to email people every day after they subscribe to your email list, you could change that from day 1 to day 2 or day 3 and give yourself a little break. And then you would come in here and again, your subject line, preview text, you'd click into here and edit all of the copy and we will save that one. Okay, so that, guys, is how you get started setting up that first welcome email sequence in your account. So in marketing, in email campaigns, I would encourage you to do simple text, at least for the first few emails that somebody receives after they join your list. And then templates we looked at so that you can save it as a template to save you a little bit of time. And then what we're going to come back and do tomorrow is set up that coming soon page with a form. And if people give you their details to keep in touch with you, then what we're going to do is we're going to add them to this welcome email sequence that you have written. All right. Apologies for all the lagging in this particular video. Thank you for sticking with me. I do have a template. So for those of you who are going through the Kajabi Kickstart with me at the moment, I'll make sure that template comes out to you, and that will give you a big head start on writing those welcome emails when somebody first enters your world. And I will see you back for part 3 tomorrow of our 30-day accelerator. Thanks, guys. Bye.